Good morning. This is Steve Caton with the National Weather Service in Blacksburg. It's Friday, June 3rd, about 9 a.m. And we wanted to provide this video briefing to give you a heads up about the severe weather potential as we go through the weekend, with the chances increasing, especially on Sunday. The slide you see here depicts the Storm Prediction Center's outlooks for Day 2, Saturday, and Day 3, Sunday, showing that increasing threat Sunday. And we'll get into the details of this a little bit. The primary threats would be wind damage, perhaps some hail, especially on Sunday, and can't rule out an isolated tornado even on Sunday. That would be in the eastern part of our area, but more likely in eastern Virginia. And we'll get into the details here in the next couple of minutes here. Just looking at the overall forecast, we're generally in a pretty soupy air mass right now, with daytime heating allowing the development of showers and storms from midday on through the early evening hours. Sort of a typical summer setup. Not a lot of wind shear at the moment, so the threats for the next couple of days are really going to be just slow-moving, isolated storms, heavy rainfall producers. We'll have to watch out for some localized flooding. The coverage today will not be that widespread, though, and can't rule out an isolated, some wind damage from perhaps some trees going down with some of these storms. But as we get into the rest of today and Saturday, especially, you can see this frontal boundary to the north. Saturday may help to provide a little bit better focus for some stronger storms across northern Virginia, some of which could sneak down into parts of our area later in the day Saturday. So we'll have to watch for that, for at least a slight increase in the coverage of some storms, which would increase the overall severe weather threat, but not a real high threat even Saturday. Here's Saturday evening. The front actually moves back up as a warm front to the north, but just that boundary being nearby could increase the chances. But keep your eye on this frontal boundary coming out of the Midwest U.S., that cold front you can see near the Mississippi Valley Saturday night. And by Sunday morning, you can see it's approaching the western slopes of the Appalachians, and this is what we're most concerned about for Sunday, which will increase the wind shear along with the instability. Could give us a better chance for more widespread severe weather across the area. And particularly, this forecast chart only goes through Sunday morning, but by later in the day Sunday, that front is pushing out into the Piedmont areas of Virginia, and we think that's where the greatest threat will be as it times with the heating of the day. There could be a threat in the western part of the area as well, depending on the timing. That's still a question. If this slows down a little bit, the threat will be more widespread, even across the western areas. But if the front keeps pushing through, the threat will primarily be in the east for later on Sunday. Did also want to point out that just after I prepared that briefing slide, the Storm Prediction Center upgraded their outlook for today, which includes a marginal risk for eastern Virginia. That does barely clip our area. Here's the details of that. You can see from Lynchburg, Charlottesville, eastward, but the very, very small risk. Most storms will be very, very isolated, not particularly strong, and very, very late in the day they may fire up a little bit stronger in the east, but they'll be pretty isolated. And I think the overall threat would be wind damage, but again, just one spot here or there, and primarily east of our area. So not a real big concern for today, just something to keep an eye on. And these storms will be fairly slow moving, so anything that's producing heavy rainfall could have an isolated flood or flash flood threat. And as we get into Saturday, here's again details of the outlook there. This is just a marginal risk for mainly north of 460 corridor, possibly storms moving in very late into the evening from the west could be stronger. But again, the main threat here would be some isolated wind damage. We're not expecting really anything widespread on Saturday, just something to keep an eye on. But as we've mentioned before, really the day that we're most concerned about is Sunday, with this cold front sweeping through. And currently, the Day 3 outlook from the Storm Prediction Center has a marginal risk, at least a marginal risk everywhere where you see the green. Yellow would be a slight risk, so essentially from the Blue Ridge eastward, and then this enhanced risk, the most likely location for more widespread severe weather, possibly an isolated tornado, would be Danville, Lynchburg, eastward from there. And it's very possible, some models are suggesting that it might even be a little farther east if this front pushes through faster. So we'll really need to keep an eye on this throughout the weekend. We will not likely do briefings throughout the weekend, but you need to stay tuned to our webpage, the Storm Prediction Center page, which is listed right here, spc.noaa.gov, for updates on the outlooks, especially for Sunday. If this timing changes, we may have more area under the slight risk, or if it increases, if the frontal speed increases, maybe that slight risk will push farther east into eastern Virginia. But folks with outdoor interest throughout the weekend really need to pay close attention to the weather forecast. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, our website. And if you do experience severe weather, please call that in or email it to us on our Skywarn account. And we'll be keeping a close eye on this, especially on Sunday. So thanks everybody for your attention, and I hope you have a good and safe weekend.